As president of the European Central Bank since 2003, Jean-Claude Trichet has been at the heart of trying to stop the Eurozone debt crisis from spreading and becoming detrimental to the single currency. In his final meeting in charge of the Governing Council yesterday, he decided to keep rates steady at 1.5%. To assess his tenure, I'm joined today by Cosima Barone of Finarc, who provide financial research and consultancy. So welcome to Dukascopy TV, Cosima. Firstly, let me ask you about your general assessment of how you think President Trichet has done, and how do you think Mario Draghi might differ in leading the ECB?
His mandate was really to ensure that price stability would be maintained during his presidency. And the crisis then came, and the crisis has been really difficult to manage. And I think that he, at some point, was forced to accept some pressure, political pressure from member countries, and he made decisions that went really much far than the constitutional charter of the European Central Bank.
So you think he's sort of violated the mandate of the ECB, and do you think that Draghi will carry on with that same approach, sort of adapting to political pressure?
Well, we don't know how Draghi is going to manage the European Central Bank. He is a man of experience. He's been for many years in government service, but he's very mysterious. I think all the people, all the experts really think that he could continue the Trichet's style, in Trichet's style. But actually he's very mysterious, and I think that being so introspective and mysterious could create the possibility or the probability of a surprise. For example, yesterday I was surprised that interest rates were not cut by Trichet, but at some point I realized that it would have been really for him a difficult moment to cut the rates and admit at the same time that he was wrong in July. So it was quite a face-saving decision, and leave maybe this decision to Draghi at the next meeting.
Okay, well, you mentioned the ECB meeting yesterday, and obviously Trichet's last press conference as president. Let's have a little watch to what he had to say, and also on the rate decision.
I have to say that I have been very moved by your kind words, and I have to say also it's very moving for me to be in Berlin for this last meeting where we take monetary policy decisions. Based on its regular economic and monetary analysis, the Governing Council decided to keep the key ECB interest rates unchanged. Inflation has remained elevated, and incoming information has confirmed our view that inflation is likely to stay above 2% over the months ahead, but to decline thereafter. At the same time, the underlying pace of monetary expansion continues to be moderate. Ongoing tensions in financial markets and unfavorable effects on financing conditions are likely to dampen the pace of economic growth in the euro area in the second half of the year.
How do you think the ECB have handled rate setting under Trichet? Do you think it's been relatively successful, or?
Well, in the first years he was so obsessed with price stability, and actually he could remain obsessed about price stability because he was really servicing Germany. But we have a two-speed economy. Germany has been always the strongest economy, but not the other countries. So it's really difficult. It was a difficult job to have a single monetary policy for 17 countries. And how we managed the crisis, actually, he has tried, even, as I said before, by violating the ECB's constitutional charter to help all the member countries or the Eurozone to resolve the problem. But I'm afraid, I think that the whole thing will fall apart.
So You mentioned the relation to Germany, obviously they mentioned the relation to governments generally. His relation to government has been interesting. Obviously this week he said that any government action is always better than any ECB action. How do you think he has related to government, and obviously in relation to sort of the government bond buying, which I know you've got some interesting opinions on?
Yeah, well, you know, in his relation with the governments, he's right to request the governments to make structural changes and to solve the economic problem. You know, the European Central Bank can only go that far by buying some government debt, but it cannot solve the crisis. The crisis in Europe is really political.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much for joining us, Cosima. That's all we've got time for. There will be plenty more interviews and analysis next week on Dukascopy TV, so stay tuned. Goodbye.